Welcome back to Storytime with Mary's Child Development Series. We're continuing our conversation with Baba Darzi, a clinical psychologist from Hearts and Minds Aloud. Hi Baba, how are you?
I'm very well, Mary. Always a pleasure to be on Storytime with Mary. And I should say that I've been following your work on Instagram and on YouTube, and I think that you are doing a phenomenal job. I've never met a reader quite like you, and I think you should keep it up.
Oh, thanks so much, Baba. That's just made me smile and made my day. Thank you so much. Today, our conversation is all around supporting our children both emotionally and mentally. And as parents and carers of young children, we want to create the best environment to support our children to learn, obviously, as we love learning on Storytime with Mary. But some children are really expressive and they can express their emotions and what they're thinking clearly, but others are not so expressive. And Baba, I just want you to help us to dig deeper to understand how we can tell or understand what our children are thinking emotionally and mentally, really, and how we can support them.
It's very important for parents to be able to tell when their children are, up there emotionally and when they are not doing so well. And I think the surest way to do this is by observing, your child's interaction with yourself and with others, so that if, there's a change or a switch in their emotions, you can pick that up immediately. What are their responses to specific situations and even specific people? Okay, if you find that there's a bit of a shift, then you know that a little down there emotionally, they might be having an emotional experience that's not so pleasant. So you want to sort of intervene. And another good way is also to understand or to be aware of child development, so that you know if there are deviations, right? You know that at certain ages, we've spoken about tantrums and when they end and all of that. So you know that there are certain emotional reactions that are specific to certain ages. So if you find that there are deviations in the way your child is responding emotionally, you know that there might be a problem or there might be something worth paying attention to.
Perfect. And as you know, with my own young children, it's always really important to understand how they're feeling. I have one really expressive child who will tell me exactly how she's feeling. And I have another one who you just have to figure it out. So these are really, really helpful conversations to be having.
Okay.
But when our children are feeling a little bit down emotionally, what are some of the ways we can lift them up and perk them up a bit?
Well, I think the most basic one is to love them as they are. Love always wins. That doesn't fail. And then, to remind them of that as often as you can. Okay. I always say that you cannot overemphasize the importance of communication in parent-child relationship. Let me put it that way. And I say this because you being able to pick them up will require you openly communicating with them. A part of that communication is listening to them first. Like you mentioned with one of your children, she would tell you, but I guess it would be the approach that you use that will get her to tell you. So you listen to them first and then respond. You don't react before listening. Also encourage social interaction, right, with other people, other family members. They might be comfortable with other people outside of, their relationship with you. Could be friends or other family members that they're comfortable with. Encourage that. And then nurture a great environment at home, right? An environment that makes them feel, safe, that makes them comfortable to talk to you, play with their siblings. And then, of course, we talked about play therapy as well. If they have access to things that bring them sort of some immediate joy. So, of course, it has to do with knowing your child, the specific thing they like to play with or do that generally lift up their mood. You want to encourage that. You want to encourage that sort of play.
Thanks, Baba. What about mentally, though? Some children get really frustrated when they're trying to do a task and they can't do it, and they get really mentally down and they shut down. What are some of the ways we can pick them up in terms of like their mental health?
All right, Mary. So, the activities that can help encourage a child's mental development and can still be considered as a pleasurable activity, that could, in your words, pick a child up mentally. And again, most of these are age appropriate. So even helping your child go through the alphabet. It's great for entertainment because, you can find these in sing-along songs and all of that. But it also is a great way of teaching your child and, building their cognitive ability. You could do these with numbers as well. You also want to encourage the child to play with many different games, and in that while it brings them, it will probably pick up their mood. It is also a great way of getting them to explore, right? Getting them to explore, and then opening them up to, very different experiences. You could do this with art as well. Art is also a great avenue for cognitive development, and it's a pleasurable activity too. So it's a good thing to engage children in. And also asking questions, of course, and being engaged in conversation, because conversation also always helps and is a great way of, in terms of cognitive development, is a great way of, for example, helping the child build verbal reasoning. Okay, so these are all pleasurable activities, but if they are directed and if you're intentional about them, they are also helpful in helping the child develop mentally too.
Thank you, Baba. And I think that makes sense, right? So we want to encourage our children to have a happy and uplifting experience in life. So the more activities we're doing with them, the more we're spending time and the more we're able to uplift them. Exactly. So Baba, moving on a little bit, obviously still connected, we absolutely welcome our children's highs and we're very excited when they're happy. And we also want to uplift them when they're down. What is the importance of maintaining that balance? How does it help to make children feel secure?
It's extremely important, Mary. We've spoken about emotional development and mental development. And I think that the two are mutually supportive, in that you could decide to have one without the other. But when you do, you find that your child is unable to, thrive in the other domain to the best of their ability. So they'll do well, but not as much as the child who has both available to them. Let me try and give an example of this. So a child who is very able, cognitively or mentally, but isn't as emotionally literate. So for example, isn't as motivated and doesn't have any idea how to get motivated, won't make the best out of his cognitive ability, right? Because they are unaware how to push themselves and unaware how to grow and how to apply all of the things that they've learned, okay? In another example, the child who isn't doing so well cognitively, but is secure, right? Understands that, okay, being cognitively able is great, but it's not necessarily a measure of my self-worth. I'm so much more, I'm worthy in so many different contexts, okay? And they're also encouraged to keep going on. I remember in one of our conversations, we even talked about having an understanding of losing gracefully and, knowing that losing is also okay. Being able to lose sometimes is fine as long as you learn from it and then you move on. This comes from being emotionally socialized or having been nurtured emotionally or having some level of emotional intelligence. Okay, so I believe that the two are extremely important, and it's great to have a balance between both.
Perfect. Thank you, Barbara. And we all want perfectly rounded and balanced children so they can be happy and they can learn. Today has been great, as always. I'm loving our conversations with you. Thank you. Okay, so have a great day and we'll talk again next time.
Have a fantastic day. Talk to you soon.
Bye.
Bye, Mary.